What's up, guys? It's Mike from Job Ready English here. I was just thinking about a question that was asked of one of my clients who's actually going to go back to China and get a tier 5. This is a really common thing. And he sort of said to me, we had a good chat. It's Leslie's videos up, the testimonial has gone up. Lovely guy. He's really tried very hard. He's had loads of interviews. He's had quite a few assessment centres. And he basically said to me, Mike, what happens when I get stuck? And I said, well, I mean, what do you mean you get stuck? He said, well, I've applied for all the companies that I wanted to apply to, and then what do I do next? And I thought this is a really good question and something that I just wanted to sit and think about and then answer. So every student has a certain number of companies they want to apply to. Either they want to do marketing, or they want to do consulting, or banking, or maybe they don't care and they're just applying to whoever's going to accept them. But eventually you run out of companies. Generally that's when you run through all the Times Top 100 companies. So bearing in mind, I'm talking about a very small proportion of students. Most students will not apply to the 70 plus Times Top 100 companies that can give you a tier 2 job. They just won't do it. They'll apply for about 10 companies. And if they're really honest, most will apply for about 5. So when I'm talking about getting stuck, I mean, you've really applied for all of those companies. And of course, this is a little bit different if you're late. So a lot of people are like, oh, nowhere's open. Well, you knew that all the jobs are going to open between sort of July and September and run through until December. So now you're just working through what's available. So what do you do next? Well, first of all, use the free websites that I put out there. That's on a different video. So you've got Student Circus, Target Jobs, and also Tier 2 Sponsor to sift the list. Tier 2 Sponsor comes last. Really you want to start with Target Jobs because that's the easiest. You always want to pick what I call the lowest hanging fruit. So you want to go, they're going to be big companies, reputable companies that are advertising. Then you might go on to something like Student Circus, which is a bit more hard work because you need to be a student at that university to register. So you basically just get all the details and then go off and find yourself. Last is Tier 2 Sponsor because you can find the latest companies that have been added, the recency factor. So you're like, they've just been added to the Tier 2 sponsorship list. But honestly, are they going to sponsor more? Probably not. The reason being is they've added themselves onto the sponsorship list for a reason, right? So I want to sponsor because Mary wants me to sponsor her, so I've got to become a sponsor. I've not become a sponsor to then look for sponsored candidates. Bearing in mind, of that sponsorship list of about 30,000 companies, I'd say 2,000 companies are good to go. The rest are probably dormant, small. They're just not really that interested in taking on fresh students. So that would be where I would start. So I would siphon through that list, and that's going to change every day. Afterwards, I would use Google. So I would sign up for loads of updates, which Google is brilliant for. They're also really good for vacancies. So looking for specific keywords like Tier 2, work permit, those types of things. Again, low-hanging fruit. And going out and looking at companies that are within your industry and on the sponsorship list. So on tier2sponsor.com, you can, which is why I love it so much, is because you can sort by industry. So say you wanted to work in a bank. Cool. So you can't get a job at Barclays, Lloyds, HSBC, go through the list. Well, how about ABC Bank or Bank of China or Dinosaur Bank or Bank of Dubai or Like there are, from my mind, about 150 banks on the sponsorship list. So that's like a big chunk. And let's face it, a lot of these banks nobody has ever heard of. So you need to start thinking outside the box. So that was just a couple of things. So just to recap, if you get stuck, number 1, go through the top 3 websites. Number 2, use Google and Google News updates. And number 3, start to search for companies that are in your industry that are on the Tier 2 sponsorship list using tier2sponsor.com. That should give you loads. Obviously there are off seasons, off times, so now it's a little bit of an off season, it's a bit slow. between about sort of February to May is not a great time to be applying, because most of the jobs that are there might be advertised. But always look so this is one last tip. When you're looking at what jobs should I apply for, always the most recently posted. So somebody will apply for a job and they'll be like, oh, I haven't heard back from BNP Paribas, is a good one. They hardly ever reply to people, even if you fail. And I'll say, oh, cool. So when did they advertise that role? 5 months ago. Do you really think they haven't filled that role in 5 months? So always be looking for stuff that's like less than a week old. It's always going to be the most recent stuff, like buying fruit and veg, I suppose, though completely different. So I hope this video has been helpful and just giving you lots of hints and tips just to look at that differently. If you're like, dude, I'm stuck, I don't know what to do, how can I find some more companies? And really check that you're stuck, not that you're lazy, right? There's a difference. Oh, I'm stuck. No, you're just lazy. How many companies have you applied to? If it's like 20 plus, then the chances are like you're hustling, you're working really hard. That's great. So now you just need to change your approach and look for something new to do. Thanks, guys. Bye.